Hello and welcome back to 1874 in association with Match Bingo. I may have gone too early there, so you may have missed the hello, so I'll say hello again. This is 1874, as I say, in association with Match Bingo. Head to 1874.io/Match Bingo and buy yourself some bingo cards around all the football and sport that's on at the moment, including Aston Villa against Bournemouth on Sunday. You buy four, you get one free, they're £2 each, and you can give yourself a chance of winning between £25 and £250, depending on how lucky you are with the bingo and the way it falls. So do go and check that out. It helps us as a channel if you do sign up, and always gamble responsibly. It's match preview time. Villa take on Bournemouth, as I've said, on Sunday at Villa Park. I am joined by Sky Sports News' next bright thing, Dave Reed, to preview the game. Dave Reed, you were a risk of not doing the preview today. We've recorded a little bit earlier so that you can do it. So you're here. I'm barely here because I am still struggling, but I'm pleased to have you on board for the preview show today.
Yeah, thanks, mate, and thanks for your timings today. Much appreciated.
No need to thank me, Dave. What have you been up to this week? I saw you with Strictly Come Dancing's Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank earlier on in the week.
Oh, Jimmy's brilliant. Jimmy is brilliant on and off screen. Maybe even better off screen than he is on screen, because some of the things he says you can't say on the telly.
Of course.
But Jimmy's brilliant. Who else have we had on this week? Michael Brown was on Thursday evening. It's been a fun week. We've done stuff on Haaland, who could make the 100 club this weekend against Liverpool potentially. Had a look at his scoring rate against Messi at the same age, and he's ahead of Lionel Messi for goals scored at the same age of his career. It really is ridiculous, or getting even more ridiculous than it has been. Lots of stuff. You're kind of running out of ways to talk about Arsenal's defence and how good it's been. We did a bit of stuff on Villa as well after John
McGinn, didn't you?
Yeah, I really wanted to. I mean, if people, not everyone watches Sky Sports News, and I get that, but we did a lot of stuff on basically how good he's been for Villa, and I wanted to make sure that was kind of front and center, because his personality almost drives his persona with other fans, I guess, other fans, and I didn't want it to be about his personality, although it is great. Obviously, I wanted to tell people how good of a player he is, and how good of a player he has been and still can be for Villa going forwards. That was the main crux of it. And then obviously a few people saw that I posted a couple of bits on my socials about him, how he holds up the ball, and actually I was quite surprised that I've been trying to think about it. I had a chat with a few people in the office about how you quantify John McGinn's backside and how you can do that. But it was around hold-ups figure that we pulled out, and he's had 20 hold-ups, which is actually the same as Ollie Watkins had since the start of last season.
Okay.
And McGinn has got a 75% possession retention rate off of these balls coming into him. Which is actually significantly higher than Ollie Watkins' ball retention rate. But both of those players are receiving different kind of balls, so you have to factor that in. But it was interesting that anyway, it's not just the eye test where you look at him and he's so good at like rolling people. It actually bears out in numbers as well.
Yeah, and of course he hit his 300th game for Villa last night, didn't he, Dave? A stupendous achievement, really. Players don't do that kind of thing because they don't stick around long enough at a club nowadays. But to have gone through the leagues with Villa, gone through all three European competitions now as well, and become captain of the club, and by the end of this new contract, he could have done 10 years at the club and will be well deserving of a testimonial. It's just credit to him, because he's still one of my favourite players, and he's still one of the first names on the team sheet as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's probably my favourite player as well, given the fact that he has come through from 2018 in the Championship through to the Premier League, through to the Champions League, captains the side. That personality enables him to connect people, which, not all players are able to do that, and he's able to connect with the person on the street, able to connect with supporters, he's able to connect with opposition fans as well. And I think if you were kind of wondering how highly he's thought of within football, the fact that other clubs were looking at him in the summer should tell you everything, particularly as at the age he's at and the stage of his career that he's at, that other teams are looking at him, should tell you everything you need to know about the type of quality that he has and can still give.
Yeah, absolutely top rate, great servant to the club, a modern day icon and legend. And when he leaves, he'll go down as a bona fide club legend. Hopefully, with a trophy and a medal in his back pocket as well. I'd love him to be the captain that lifts a trophy for Villa. Villa, of course, went well in the Europa League last night. Professional job against Maccabi Tel Aviv. If you want to hear thoughts on that game, then go back and watch or listen to the show that came out straight after the game last night, and you'll be able to hear my thoughts straight on the whistle. Right, Dave, let's talk about Bournemouth, our opposition this week. And still horrid memories from Bournemouth scoring a stoppage time equaliser last season at Villa Park, maybe even around this time of year, actually. But they've got off to a really, really good start this season. They lost to Liverpool at the start of the season. They, of course, lost to Manchester City last weekend. But other than that, they've been a brilliant watch. And in fact, they were more than in the game of both of those games. They're a really unique side with a really talented manager, very good in transition. The wingers stay wide. Everyone knows their jobs. Whoever comes in and does their job to a high standard. This is a tough game on Sunday for Villa.
Oh, this is going to be really difficult. Do not underestimate this Bournemouth side. I think they've shown that from the start of the season. In my I must say, my preseason predictions, I had them kind of lower mid-table, and that was
I think I probably did as well.
And that was simply because they were a little bit unknown in terms of the personnel that they'd brought in, having lost 4 of the back 5, including the goalkeeper in the summer. I know everyone talks about that, but they did. And, I've been pleasantly surprised at the consistency and the high level of the players that have been playing this season. So why can't they be in the hunt for a European place now? We're more than a quarter of the season through, way through the season, and the table is shaping up now, and it could well be indicative of how it looks at the end of the season. So Bournemouth could well be right in there. The only thing they've got to be careful of is almost a little bit what happened to them last season when it comes to injuries and losing key players. If they can keep everyone fit and healthy, I think they've got a real shot at European football, which means that this game against Bournemouth this weekend could well be crucial in the race for European football.
Yeah, they've run out of steam a little bit at the back end of last season. Villa went there and won. I think that confirmed that they couldn't get Europe, but they were more than in the mix for the whole season. Obviously, we know that more teams can qualify for Europe with the way that the things are set out now, but they were very unlucky not to get European football last season. Lost a host of players, including what you've said happened to their back line, absolutely decimated, but it just hasn't made a difference, which just shows what a good coach they have and what a good coaching team they have as well, including former Aston Villa centre-half Tommy Elphick, who I haven't spoken to for a while, actually, and I will not be speaking to him until after the game, perhaps, if Villa do manage to beat Bournemouth this weekend. The star player for them is undoubtedly Antoine Semenyo. Just such a good footballer, such a pleasure to watch him. That first game of the season again against Liverpool, he can go either side, right foot, left foot. Is there a more two-footed player in the Premier League? I'm not sure, but when you're playing on the wing and to have that kind of variation to your game, it just makes it so difficult to defend against you. Good finisher off both feet as well, can dribble off both feet. He's growing into a sensational footballer and somebody that at some point, this is the Bournemouth model, he'll go somewhere and be an absolute star for one of the bigger teams.
I think from Bournemouth's point of view, they managed to tie him down to that new contract. I think he'll be the player that they would say that they would like to build the team around. And when we talk about him growing to be a sensational player, I think he's already there. He could play.
Yeah, that's fair.
Genuinely, I think he could play for any of the so-called Big Six sides. As you say, one of the most two-footed players out there. We did a piece this week on the Premier League show about how two-footed he is compared to the other players, and I think he had 73 shots with his left foot and 65 shots with his right foot since the start of last season. So as a defender, you've got no idea which way he's going to go. Add to that the physical presence that he can beat you in the air. Add to that the pure speed that he's got and ability to go by you in a flash of a second. Like he's got everything. He's got everything in the locker that can hurt defenses. So Bournemouth will be hoping that they can A, keep him fit, and B, keep him in the long term, because he's going to be key. He's so good. I think he's brilliant.
Yeah, it's not just about him though as well. They've got a good team. I think the way it's all kind of been meshed together by Iraola, and as I said earlier, like if someone's injured or suspended, someone else comes in and can do exactly the same job. You've only got to look at the central midfield area in there. Whichever variation they play of central midfielders tends to come in and do the same job, but they all know absolutely what they're doing. Tyler Adams has been on good form. He's a doubt for the weekend. I just had a look on the physical premierinjuries.com before we came on. It said he's got a 50% chance of playing. think Ryan Christie is back in there now. He's been a big player for them over the last few years. He could certainly come in and do a similar job to Tyler Adams. And they've been buoyed by the news that Alex Scott has just been named in Thomas Tuchel's England squad as well. Someone he said he wanted to take a look at, a young, exciting player who came with a high reputation from Bristol City. He'll be confident going into the game as well. I think it's important to probably just say that Semenyo's the star, I would say, but they've got so many other good players as well, and they're just a really effective team.
Yeah, the Guernsey Grealish, isn't it, Alex Scott?
Yeah.
So he's been called up to the England squad, and as you say, when players
the Grealish hasn't been called up to the England squad.
No. For Bournemouth, when players miss out, they have other players to come in and that are fully capable of doing exactly the same job. So, if Tyler Adams doesn't make it, they've got Ryan Christie, they've got Lewis Cook, who can play in there, who was one of their big players last season, and even spent a time at right back last season, Lewis Cook, because of injuries they had. This season, you look at like Marcus Tavernier, who's been started the season as a number 10 because of players missing, and now he's been put back out wide, but he's excelling in both of those different positions. And I think it just shows, again, what you were talking about there, really. Andoni Iraola as an excellent coach. I think there will be interest in him from other clubs. His contract situation is still up in the air. It runs out next summer, and he's not fully committed yet. I think there have been talks. The Bournemouth owner came over last week, I think, and there was a conversation there. But whether that will lead to a deal, it'll be interesting to see, because other clubs will be looking at him. And I think the only question mark you have around Iraola really is whether his style of football can translate to a so-called bigger club. Bournemouth are a side that thrive on chaos. They try and create chaos within games and take full advantage of that. Whether that is in 1v1 situations and moving people around and taking people on, which disrupts the opposition's or disrupts the opposition's mid block or high block if they're trying to take people on. The other way they do it is via long passes, and they try and win those balls and basically try and disrupt. They're disruptors. They try and disrupt the opposition whenever they can. And I guess the question mark is, if you are at a so-called bigger club, we're able to control games, and that's been the question mark really about Bournemouth, particularly last season when they go ahead in games, whether they're able to slightly alter the way they play to gain more control of the football, because naturally when you're ahead in games, you don't want to have that chaos. You want to be more in control. So whether he's able to do that, either at Bournemouth or at a different football club, will be interesting to see.
And what I will say as well, you mentioned Bournemouth thrive on chaos. Chaos feels like a thing Villa don't thrive on. Villa thrive on control and manipulation of the ball and kind of setting the tempo themselves. So it's certainly going to be an interesting matchup. I think it'll be a great game at Villa Park on Sunday again. Let's do our tactical. That doesn't make any sense. Let's get our tactics board out, Dave Reed, and see what we think the Villa team might be this weekend. I have left a couple of spaces vacant. So the players that I have in that I think are locks this week are Emi Martinez. Good to see him make some good saves last night in the Europa League. Matty Cash, Ezri Konsa, Pau Torres, Boubacar Kamara, Amadou Onana, Morgan Rogers, John McGinn, and Ollie Watkins. I have them down as locks, Dave, which means left back and somewhere in the kind of positions off Ollie Watkins. They're the gaps that I have right now. I do think it'll be Luca Dean, but just it does give you something to talk about with the fact that Maatsen scored and played well last night.
Yeah, I think it will be Luca Dean again.
Let's just get him in. Let's just get him in there.
I'm interested. Do you think from this point in this at this point in the season now, compared to say at any point that Ian Maatsen's been at the club? I'm interested in your thoughts. Whether you think there was a couple of points season where I thought it was quite close between those two.
I thought he took over towards the end of the season. Actually,
I'm almost at the point now where Dini is actually significantly ahead in terms of being the number one left back.
I think in Unai Emery's mind, what you've just said is true. I do think we could vary a little bit more in like certain games, like home games that we're like comfortably the favourites and you're expecting us to have to play on the front foot. I think he could be more advantageous for certain games. But I certainly think Luca Dean is the number one left back, and probably rightly so. I'd actually be really interested to know what Maatsen kind of thinks of his time at Villa, because I think he's a really good player and there's a player that can grow and get even better in there. But I think he's probably a little bit disappointed with how his time at Villa has gone in terms of games started. It would be interesting to find that out, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And in particular, I think about his adaptability. Really, there was Dortmund where he inverted and played central midfield, and
He's done
it
that for
seems to
Villa a
me,
couple of times when Rashford was on the left.
yeah, and there seems to be a bit more of a trend now where fullbacks are ending up in the number 10 position, and I feel like he could be one that has the ability or the awareness to be able to do that as well. So he can offer different things. So yeah,
Took his
it
goal
just
well last
feels
night.
it just feels to me right now that Dean is the number one, and actually the fight between those two isn't that close right now at the moment.
Yeah, and obviously with European games on a Thursday, I always think after a Thursday game, it's easier to predict what the team might be on a Sunday. So I think Buendia coming in and getting some minutes possibly means that he starts on Sunday. He kind of just gives players a run out, doesn't he, so that they're ticking over ahead of Sunday. McGinn, Watkins came on. Maybe Buendia's the same boat as them, that he comes in and starts this game. Or does he draft Yuri Tielemans straight in, who put in an unbelievable cameo, and play him as a 10? He seemed to want to do that at the start of the season, didn't he? What's your thinking of that last space in the squad?
I think it totally depends on Tielemans' fitness and how he thinks he is. I think
Do you think he would put him straight in? I think he'd probably go with him from the bench, but I think long term he'll want to get. I think he wants to play Tielemans there this season and have Kamara and Onana as the pivots.
Yeah, it sounds like feels to me like that is going to be the long term plan. I think interestingly we're talking about what Bournemouth do and what Unai Emery likes to do, as you quite rightly say, is about control and controlling the football. And someone who also likes that and has proved that over his whole managerial career was Pep Guardiola. But he has obviously shown adaptability and different things this season in terms of what he's doing. And what he did to Bournemouth last week was almost cede a little bit of control to Bournemouth and let them have it, because from Bournemouth's perspective, they're probably a better side when they don't have the ball and they're able to press in that man-to-man bit.
Sure.
When teams are building up, and then if their press is beaten, they drop and are able to play that mid-block, or what they did against Man City was play a slightly high line. You can argue whether that was right or not against Haaland. But actually, Pep Guardiola ceded a little bit of control to them, which will probably, Villa aren't a side that naturally press high and hard. So maybe Unai Emery might go down that route. But we saw against Liverpool that not necessarily, Villa will do their own than perhaps play what other sides have done. But I thought it was interesting that also in possession, Manchester City essentially played with 3 number 10s, and they packed the middle of the pitch to try and suck in the Bournemouth fullbacks to make them make a decision. Are the fullbacks going to come in and mark Doku, who came central, and mark Cherki, who was central, and mark Foden, who was central, and leave Haaland 1v1 against the defender with that highish line that they had? That was the decision they made. And then in the half, I think Bournemouth decided, you know what, we're actually going to leave our fullbacks, and it's going to be the midfielders that's going to pick up those number 10 players or players coming into the middle of the pitch. So I think from that perspective, if Villa are going to try and do something similar, it would be a Buendia, given that he's now feels like he's coming back to fitness, and given that he came on, would suggest to me that he's ready to start. And Villa do a similar thing where they're essentially trying to play with 3 number 10s, and then it's the decisions on Bournemouth. Who are you going to pick up? Is it going to be the fullbacks picking those players up? Is it going to be a centre-half coming on Rodgers? Is it going to be a midfielder dropping in on one of those Buendia or McGinn roles? So I think it poses questions for the opposition if you have a Buendia, Rodgers, McGinn trio behind Watkins.
Also, this was the system and the personnel that Villa went for against Manchester City in their last Premier League home game as well. So you feel like that could play into it as well. I think that will be the team. So just to confirm, Martinez, Cash, Konsa, Pau, Luka Dean, Kamara, Onana, McGinn, Rodgers, Buendia, Watkins. And then you look at the players that are available on the bench. You've got Sancho to bring into it, Marlon to bring into it. He likes to bring Barkley on in Premier League matches. And then Tielemans can come on at some point depending on how the game's going. We saw his little cameo last night. He was absolutely excellent. So although we've lost Tyrone Mings for the foreseeable in the week, we're getting back to strength in numbers and strength in quality again, aren't we?
Yeah, and you're looking at that bench and you're thinking there's some really good players there that can really help. So it's only a positive position, as you say. I guess the only downside is the centre back position, because you do worry it's always the thing, isn't it? If Konsa goes down, we've got an issue, and now if Pau Torres goes down, we've got an issue. So yeah, it's great to see that there are players coming back to fitness. I still think there's a way to go for some of them to be flying in terms of form, but it's good to have players back fit, and hopefully the Europa League games will players find form.
I'm just looking at it here. I've got 10 players on the sideline now. I've moved a couple of the younger lads over. It's looking to me like Harvey Elliott might not be on the bench again, Dave.
Yeah, it's not going well for him, is it? I think he would have liked for him to have got more minutes. Most definitely, there's no doubt about that. Whether I don't know whether there's a situation in January where that move can be discussed, but from the player's point of view, he wants to be playing. There's no doubt about that. So if he's not in the squad, it's another disappointment for him.
I don't think he's going to be in the squad looking at this, because he's going to, obviously Tielemans is now coming back into it. He's going to want Bogard on the bench because he covers multiple roles. The others were all involved last night in terms of the front players, Sancho, Marlon and Gasson. So, and Tielemans as well, if you class him as he can play in a number 10 position. I'm just looking at that and thinking, even Barkley's come on and played some football at number 10 recently. I'm just looking at it and thinking, he ain't getting on that bench again at the weekend. And it's such a baffling situation, isn't it? It's almost like Unai Emery just doesn't want to spend that £35 million on him. So we'll get to January and see where we're at without him having triggering the clause.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I can't imagine that that was the case. I think there's so much money in, particularly Villa's position. There's money in football these days that it's not like clubs are at the are able to just we'll do the deal just in case we need a player for the first few months. I just that's kind of how they work, and particularly when you're trying to sell your project to a player for him to sign for Villa. The project is for him to be a key part of plans. That's how you get players to sign for you. So it just seems unfortunate, really, for him. He's either struggling in terms of not being able to take on board what's being asked of him, or
that's not what I hear. To be fair, that isn't what I've heard, but there's obviously something going on.
Yeah, he's a great player. That's all. He's a great player, and you want to see him play because he's an exciting player, and he's one of those ones that gets bums off seats. And particularly in the game where there's about set pieces and long throws and time being taken out of the game. He's someone that can change things in a flash. So it's from his point of view, he just wants to be playing.
Yeah, and for him as well, when he came to us, he was in a team that wasn't functioning very well at that point. When we did see him on the pitch, we were hopeless at the start of the season. We're better now. I'd like to see him in a better team, but it's probably maybe a discussion for a video in the international break. But yeah, I'm not expecting to see him on the bench again tomorrow, in all honesty, looking at that and how we've just broke down that team selection. Let's finish then, Dave, with our hot/freezing cold take. We've hit a bit of a rocky patch with our takes. I think we were well off it again last week at Liverpool. And I've got to admit, I did just think we would lose last week, and I did say in the whole week building up, because I just knew we'd play Liverpool back into form. What have you got for us this week, Dave?
I'm going to go for a 1-1.
Ooh, that's interestingly, and a chance for me to plug my other show on my other YouTube channel, 1992, a Premier League channel with Jonathan Wilson, of course, of Guardian fame and many other outlets. I predicted 1-1 on that in our score prediction section, where he's absolutely smashing me. So read into that what you will. He's absolutely smashing me in the predictions league, and I've predicted 1-1. My hot take was going to be a score draw. Score draw, but a good game.
It will be entertaining because it mostly is when Bournemouth are playing. So there will be lots to look at. Don't take your eyes off. You just hope from Villa's point of view they can get it over the line.
Yeah, and you might have had to have taken your eyes off this stream, because I don't know what has been happening with Dave Reed buffering the whole way through. It seems to have been struggling a little bit. But anyway, yeah, let's see what it turns out like at the end, because I don't know at the moment. But Dave, thank you ever so much for joining me, as always, to preview the action. I love talking to you.
Oh, thanks very much. Well, I love talking to you as well. I mean, it's looked great from my end, I must say. There's been no issues, so I hope right.
interested to see how it turns out. Let's see how we go in post prod. Thank you ever so much to you, the viewer and the listener as well. If you're watching via YouTube, if you could subscribe with your post notifications on, give us a like and leave us a comment predicting give us your hot takes and freezing cold takes ahead of the game, and whether you agree with what we've said and our team selection and what you think of the Harvey Elliott situation. If you are watching or listening on Spotify, leave us a comment and leave us 5 stars. And if you're listening via Apple Podcast, 5 stars. And if you could trouble yourselves and leave us a very nice review, that would be much appreciated. Don't know whether this is coming out before the stat pack with AVFC Stato or not. So if it is, it's coming. The stat pack will be here as well. If it's not and it's already out, then go back and watch or listen to the stat pack if you can. Of course, whatever happens, I'll be at Villa Park on Sunday. I'm not missing another game through illness, so I'll be at Villa Park on Sunday with my dad. So there'll be plenty of content after the fact as well. So watch out for that and keep your eye on our socials so you know when content is coming. Don't forget to check out Match Bingo as well as 1992, my other YouTube channel. That'll do us. All the plugs in the world done. So have a great weekend. See you at Villa Park on Sunday. And let's finish with an Up the Villa from me and an Up the Villa from Sky Sports News' David Reed.
Up the Villa.